Hey everybody, welcome to TSR Poker. This is the second half of the review of my Hot 50 win. We're going to start here at the final table, and again, we got TSR Poker coach Schwibbs here to do the analysis. Hey Schwibbs, how's it going?
Pretty good, Google. Thanks for having me on, and I'm excited to do some ICM work. It's way different than Chip EV, so what we covered in part one, this is going to look pretty different than what we went over, so should be fun. These hot 50s, like the way that the structure goes is like they're pretty fast because it's a turbo, so we'll see a lot of push fold strategy, and that's where ICMizer will come into play and be pretty helpful, but I'm looking forward to it.
All right, great. So as you can see, a lot of people are really short here, so we're going to be playing kind of tight here to start off. Since we're kind of in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, this one is probably a pretty good fold, honestly.
Yeah, this one was
I think
close.
A lot of people here play too many hands. They'd see a 5 big blind jam and be like, okay, so it is coming in.
It's
it is the bottom.
It is a push, but it is right on the edge.
Yeah, it is the bottom. It has the 5 big blind jam range only being 18% of hands, which is probably pretty close to correct. So yeah, I mean maybe we miss a call here. The reason why I said like I was pretty happy folding was because I know that being the next to act here is a big difference than being on the button. If we're on the button, then this is like a very, very easy call. But the fact that you have 7 or 8 uncapped ranges behind just tightens up the strategy.
Yeah,
quite
and if we tighten him up a little bit, does that change it very much? Probably not enough.
Well, if you take out ace 10 off, ace 9 off, it'll probably tighten it up a little bit because those are hands that you dominate.
If he's even a little bit tighter than Nash, then that's a fold.
Multi-way, that's easy fold.
Yep.
If it folded to you, that would have been pretty annoying.
This is a shove here, I believe. Oh, no.
I don't mind having a limping strategy here. I would just do it with hands that play better post-flop, so more suited hands. It might be a little counterintuitive, but I would like limping something like Queen-Jack suited quite a bit, because if you jam, he's going to call with all the better hands.
Yep.
And if you limp and he jams, like it's the same thing. However, if you limp Queen-Jack suited, he could jam in some worse hands. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. But with King Queen off, like I would prefer jamming just because you do get quite a good bit of value from worse hands that will call, and it doesn't play super well post flop on a number of boards.
No, it doesn't. And with these two guys, Teddy Ballgamus and Trucifer, so short, I really don't want to bust if I can help it. I mean, does that factor into it at all?
Yeah, for sure. It'll make your range pretty tight. Relative to like Chip EV, you still have King Queen off. Like in Chip EV, 10 big blind jam range might look something like 50% of hands or something.
Right.
Like we're not going to be doing that here, but you still have King Queen off. Like you're still really high up.
Okay.
So it's probably still a shove. I wouldn't like fold this hand, obviously. Blind be blind. Yep, pretty easy.
Yeah, this guy's opening off 10, which is weird. Yeah, that's a fold, obviously. With him all in, if he busts, we're gonna ladder.
Yeah, we'd still flat that 7-8 suited, I think.
ICMizer won't really tell us because it's only pushing.
Yeah, that's a limitation of ICMizer, obviously. Yeah. But you're getting a pretty good price with the suited connector. Yeah. It's not great because you got 3 other like stacks that are shorter. Mm-hmm. It's like I will be pretty tight here, but this hand I think is still just too good given the price you're getting. But it's one I would have to look up to. Like I'm not 100% confident in that answer, but if I looked at a model, I think it would still say call. I could actually try pulling something up in the meantime. I would just, the 3x, I would just fold. That's pretty easy.
Let it ride. What about
I would just
this
call.
spot? This you call? Yeah, they called.
Yeah. Price is too good.
Pretty good flop for us.
Ooh, you could definitely lead the turn.
Lead the turn? Okay.
You could to a small size, bet like 3 bigs. Because the player just doesn't really have any 8x. It's not impossible. Like they could have ace 8 or pocket 8s.
Right.
But they shouldn't really have king 8 off, queen 8 off, jack 8 off, 10 8 off, 9 8 off. Any of those hands. Okay, so they have queen 9 off.
Yeah.
But like my point is like the bottom of the button opening range is going to be like queen 8 off, jack 8 off. And in an ICM scenario, they shouldn't really have those hands. So this hand, like, again, not trying to be results oriented, but does kind of speak to my point where like they'll be a little bit tighter, and then they won't have 8x really unless it's pocket eights or ace eight, and you have all the 8x pretty much. So I think leading the turn makes a lot of sense.
All right, easy shove.
Easy. Yep, easy jam. Yep.
I don't know what happened with 10-2 here. Oh, we check. We hit a 2. We'll double barrel will fold, but I think calling one street's fine if I don't improve and getting out of the way.
Yeah, the turn is tough. Kind of speaks to my point though about what we covered in part 1 with like those types of hands. I wouldn't necessarily raise it in this scenario.
Yeah.
But like to my point, you flopped bottom pair and had to fold to a turn barrel.
Yep. Yep.
That's why I like raising those trash hands in more of like a chip EV. I wouldn't necessarily do it here. This is probably.
Yes, it's this one.
Yep. Yeah.
So it's right on the border, 0.04. That's pretty close. That's
I would still take it though. When I see this output, like I would still take the spot.
Yeah, I think this. I don't over. Oh, we get called. Oh, I know what happens here. Yeah.
Or you chop. Yeah, you suck out. Nice.
Yeah.
Good raise, I think. Yep.
Yeah, I raise here because we're so deep now. Now we're starting to get kind of deep. Raise fold.
Yep, easy raise fold. I would just check this.
Yeah, we check top pair. I'll just go ahead and bet it. I mean, there's no need to be funny with 9. We're just gonna open.
Yeah, so I wouldn't do this. So what you did there, this min raise is not really gonna work because you're in the small blind, and what you're extending to the big blind is basically an option where they should never fold because their price is so good. So you're like kind of inflating the pot into a player that's never going to fold, and then you're going to be out of position for 3 streets.
Right.
So it's just a sizing choice that I personally never use, and I would either limp or 3x or shove. I wouldn't min raise here.
Not focused or something. I think that's possible.
It's a bit big on the river for your hand. Are you? I guess I should ask some questions first.
Go ahead.
What are your flop is fine, turn is fine, but what's your general strategy on the river here? Do you think like what are your goals?
On the river here, I'm obviously betting for value. Maybe the value is a little too thin here for the 6, as you know. I mean, I don't think he has a lot of jacks when he doesn't bet the turn. I think his jacks continue to need protection. I think his jacks continue to bet. He seemed like a pretty decent player. He wasn't doing anything crazy, but
DMP's solid reg, I think.
Yeah, so like I think he's betting. I mean, 5s and 4s kind of want to slow down a little. He's trying to just get a fold here on the flop, and he's I think he's range betting here, honestly, on this flop when I check. But the 9, I think if he has a 9, he bets as well. I think he bets his jacks and his 9s. I don't think he has any here. And then, maybe I can get called by a 4 or 5. That's my thought. I mean,
I like your analysis
very
overall.
advanced.
I like how you I like your analysis how you don't really think he has a jack. I would agree with that. I wouldn't say 100% that he doesn't have a 9 though. I think he can definitely still have a 9. Now, I'm not saying he has like a full weight on all of his 9x, but I think it's definitely still possible. I definitely think he has a 5 and a 4 quite a bit here. There are some like weird rivered straights with like 7-3 and 3 deuce and 7-8 and stuff, as well as 2 pair with 6-5 and 6-4. But you do block that, which is nice. But the argument I would make here, you have to think about when you bet, what do you get called by? And if you bet really, really big, like I'm going to be a little extreme here, but let's say you bet 10 bigs here, or you shove. He's going to fold a 5 and he's going to fold a 4. And he's going to call with like maybe a 9 and then like the 2 pair and the straights and stuff. The bigger you bet, the more narrow of a range you're up against. And so here I think like even betting 6 bigs, he might pretty happily fold a 4 and a 5 still. So you might not, even though you like virtually never lose, the sizing choice might be too big to where like you're not really getting too much value. You might just be getting value from like 6-7 or 6-8, which you block those hands. So like I would argue generally here for a smaller size, bet like a third or even half pot, but I think over half might be just a little too thin to where you don't actually get value from because we want to drive in money from a 5 and a 4, right? You identified that, but I think betting this, he might have a full percentage on those hands.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to make a jack fold. Obviously, I wasn't trying to make a jack fold, but
Bluffing in the spot, you definitely have a
yeah,
value hand, which I think you identified correctly. I just think that this might be a bit big, but we'll see. Let's see if he calls or folds. It might tell us something. No,
yeah.
it doesn't. Okay, fair enough.
See, now I went for the 3 here, and we got
This is good. You could raise or limp it. I think both are fine.
Yep. We'll defend here.
Yeah, I'm really shocked that he doesn't bet the turn. Honestly, I think he should just bet 100 on this turn.
Yeah, I think he should too. I think it's this. I think this board right here seems like it's really good for his range. So we bet a half pot, try to get called by maybe 2 pair or something, but we don't. Again, see, I'm doing the 3x here, and that was my standard. I think that 2x might have been a misclick earlier.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're just gonna see bet here, and then we get raised, and we just gotta give up. But that's
Yeah, fine. I like everything there. I think that's good.
All right.
Don't fold.
Don't fold. I don't remember what I did, but we're gonna find out. Oh, cool. Yep.
Good. Yeah, just check it back. Yep. Nice hand.
Let me take it down. This is nice.
Oh, this is really gross. Well, maybe not.
Gross.
Maybe this is actually just really easy. Yeah, I guess this is pretty easy. I didn't realize he was all in. I thought it was just a 3-bet off of like 25 bigs. Yeah, this would be my bottom though. I wouldn't go with ace jack off. So my range here is probably 9s plus, ace queen suited, ace queen off plus.
Okay.
So this is like kind of what I was describing. Like pocket 8s are really break even, and when I see this output, I would just fold pocket 8s. So like 9s plus ace queen, and then ace jack suited is sneaking in there. But yeah, it's a pretty common output for this program to be 9s plus ace queen, honestly.
So we did what ICMizer suggested, which was to push.
I think that's good.
In game, obviously I did post the video of this hand, but in game I believe that I thought, look, he has to fold like everything here. Like he literally can call, like there's so little he can call with here. It has him calling.
Yeah, his overcall range is 3.5%.
It says 5.9 here.
No, it's the one below, I think.
Oh,
the button.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The button overcall.
I was like, that's crazy. Yeah, so I mean, I might even fold 10s here if I was him. I probably would. Just because if you just get out of the way, you got a good chance at being second. So anyway,
tough, though, because if he calls and wins, he wins the tournament. So like that would play into my head pretty fast. I don't think it should, but like if he calls and wins the hand, it's over, which is nice.
We don't win this hand, but we definitely got it in good. So I'm just gonna shove on Justin here.
He limped to you. Yeah, that's a good play. I like it. Yep.
Now we're gonna reshove again, obviously. All right. The reason I don't bet here is because I don't think this board hits my range very well.
Oh yeah, you're on the button. I would agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he's got good coverage here and a lot of draws here, and he can just make my life bad here. But now we pick up the flush draw of the third nuts, so let's go ahead and bet it and take it down. We could have rejammed on him here too. I don't know. What are your thoughts here? This could be a jam.
I think all 3 options are available. The other one, you could ISO to 3x. I might not do it with this hand though, in particular. But I think all 3 options are on the table between check it back, ISO, and jam. I think a jam is going to be profitable. There's no way that it's not. Okay, that's interesting.
Super close.
Well, that's because it has him limping like a weird range, like 100% or something.
It keeps turning that FGS off. It's weird.
This is going to be hard though, because what we would have to do here is with his limp range of like whatever, like we have to assign him a limp range, and that's going to be really difficult to do, like to nail.
Yeah.
You have to assign him a limp call range, a limp fold range.
Yep.
I don't think it's going to be that easy.
Yep.
But yeah, I think either or is fine.
Okay, cool. Bottom pair here. not going anywhere, and take it down. We fold to the 3-bet here. I think it's
Yeah,
okay.
I would definitely fold.
Yeah. Double up for D and B. We jam on him with any 2, and we got 2 pretty good ones, so take it down.
There are definitely some things about heads up that are quite different that I think I should talk about.
I'm not too confident in my heads up game, so.
Okay. Yeah, to be honest, I really don't think too many people are. The things that you need to realize that I think are important are, one, there's no ICM anymore. I think people generally know that, but this is just chip EV, right? Because at this point in the game, there's no more like additional pay jumps. You just want to gain the most chips as possible. You want to take every profitable spot that you can.
Yep.
So that's part one. Part two is that the small blind is now the button, which kind of flips how we're used to playing blind versus blind. So if you study a lot of blind versus blind in like normal tournament scenarios, now the script is flipped, so like the ranges are just going to be different.
Right.
Definitely want to keep the 3-betting aggressive enough. Now here you're only 25 bigs deep, so you don't have too much room. 3-bet not all in that much. They're mainly going to be shoves, but if you were deeper, like 50 bigs deep, you want to 3-bet like 20 to 25% of the time because the ranges are so wide. As the button, you almost never want to fold, like when you're this small blind / button. And the reason is because you're just in position for the entire hand. So if you fold a lot there, even folding 20% of hands is just way too much folding. So that's why you want to play a lot of hands, and then that's why the big blind should do a lot of 3-betting. So hopefully that's kind of helpful. But now we can, I think, start to run through some hands. I like everything you did there. That's good.
Okay. I like raising this. I think this is a really good hand, a really strong hand. So that's why I raised it. What about the sizing versus his limp? Good.
With this stack depth, I would keep it at 3x.
Okay.
Just because the stacks are already so short.
Yeah, here's one I'm folding. I probably should open, probably based on what you said.
Right, open or limp. Both options are pretty reasonable.
Okay.
It is reasonable to limp the button here.
Okay. We choose not to 3-bet here.
Yeah, this is one you could 3-bet fold. I wouldn't necessarily like 3-bet call.
Okay.
Because the 4-bet range you'll be up against will have you smashed.
Okay.
So you could have used this as a bluff, but I think that it's also good to call. We can see how the rest of the hand plays out.
Okay.
Yeah, I would definitely
Pretty
call
well.
flop. This is actually a turn I would lead quite a bit. Because Justin let here, not that they can never have a jack, they definitely can, but it's just not as likely. I think it's pretty likely that players will check back a jack, and you check call all of your jack X, and you have way more of it than they do, so you can leverage that situation, betting your jacks, and then also betting like 10-8, 9-8, 10-9, like those straight draws.
That makes sense. All right, so we just flat here. So we go to the river here with just about almost 1-to-1, but not quite. I decide to lead here. This might have been a mistake. He might have continued to barrel his ace. I just thought I didn't really want to give him the opportunity to check back this river. So I bet half pot here. And he does find the fold.
So can we go back to the turn?
Yep.
So the one thing I'd say about here, well, I guess there's two things. But the first thing is focusing on his bet size. I don't really know what this like the range that he's using this with. Obviously you can have really strong ace X like ace king, ace queen, but on this turn in particular, it's not one that I would size up with a lot of my hands, because the amount of strong hands you have went up pretty dramatically. Kind of like the whole thing I said about leading the flop or leading the turn. Like you have way more jack X than he does, and when that's the case, I normally wouldn't size up too much here. Like if he has ace 5, I don't really see a big reason to bet big. So like maybe ace king, ace queen in particular, and then I think he has like quite a bit of airball bluffs, just because it's really easy to have some sort of draw or air here. It's way easier than having a jack. I would definitely play call fold on the turn. I wouldn't raise versus bet size, because he's already representing, like, so the way I'm describing this is like he has a lot of air. I don't know how much like middling strength hands he has, like how much weak ace X he has. So he either has like a really strong ace, a jack, a boat, or air. And like versus that polarized range, I don't want to raise really.
Okay.
So I would just play call fold here.
Okay.
And then the river, the thing about leading the river, but he has like quite a lot of air that will just pretty happily fold, obviously, to a lead. He has a jack that's going to bet anyway, right? So like that money's going to go in if he has queen jack or jack 10 or jack 9. The only way you lose value by checking here is like if he checks back ace 10, which would be sad. But I think like I'm just trying to think about his range holistically, and I think it's like mainly air or jack X. And when that's the case, like I want to get another bet from his air, and the jack X is going to go in anyway.
I sort of did tank on this a little bit, and I thought, but I think you're right. I think a check is the only chance I get any more value here, because like that's a good point. He really only has air or big aces here, I guess. All right, I like that analysis. That was great. Thank you. I'm gonna be rewatching that several times, just so I can understand it. Fold here. Fold
that's
here.
A good fold.
I mean, we're folding a very small amount, and that's pretty weak. So.
Well, sorry, go back. You're going to be folding quite a bit, and with the 5-3 off. So in this scenario, he is the small blind in the button.
Yes.
So he should not fold really much at all.
Right.
Maybe 10% of hands or something like that. A very few amount of hands.
Right.
However, for you here, you're out of position for the entire hand. So you're definitely gonna have a fold range.
Okay.
It might be like 20 to 25% of hands. It'll be quite a good amount of hands. So I think folding makes sense.
Right. There we get jammed on again. Limp. We're just gonna check it back.
Yep, that's what I would do.
Pretty good turn. Once again, we're luck boxing here.
I would check the turn.
Okay.
Because he's going to have an extraordinarily high bet percentage on this turn.
Okay.
And if that's the case, like, let me put it to you this way. If I told you he's going to bet the turn 100% of the time, would you want to bet yourself? Probably not. You would just want check raise.
Yes.
And so I'm not saying he's going to bet 100%, but I think it's going to be pretty high because he has so much king X bluffs, queen X bluffs, top pair. There's just so many different bluffs he can choose from, and so many different value bets he can choose from. So I would opt to check this turn quite a bit. Okay. And then with this particular hand, I would definitely check raise. I wouldn't check call. But as played, you bet, he raised. Yeah, I was gonna say dumping it in seems pretty attractive here at this point, but the problem is you do probably lose out quite a bit of value.
Yep. I think you're right.
When he has like weak jack X. But the other thing too to consider is you have basically the current nuts. I mean, you can have queen 8 and king queen, but I'm not really going to consider that in my strategy. You have a hand that is basically the current nuts, but is very vulnerable on, a 7 river, an 8 river, a queen river, a king river, a diamond river. So like 3-betting the flop here does make sense, but it definitely allows him, I think, to get away from quite a lot of hands. So
yep.
I think if you check raised, you may have gotten a good bit more value than just 3 big blinds.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Yeah, I didn't need to bet there. All right, so we turn improves us a bit. We're still behind the kings and the queens, but so we check, and then we just river it again for like the third time in this heads up match. So we put in a good size here. This could be a missed flush draw. He's not going to fold king here ever. He might not fold queen here. I think it could look like a missed flush draw, but those were my thoughts in game in the 10 seconds I had to decide. So
yeah, I think it definitely makes sense. If we think about your bet flop check turn range, it has a lot of 10x in it. And I'm not just saying that because you have a 10 here, but it makes a lot of sense to bet the flop with, jack 10, 10, 9, like just random 10 high hands, and then check back the turn because you have many other ways to bluff. So you have like 9x and jack X and flush draws and maybe some ace X before you start bluffing with a pair of 10s here. So I think you have quite a bit of 10x.
Okay.
I think you have an advantage there that like over Justin Let here. So I think using a bigger size definitely makes sense, and so that's why I do like it.
Okay.
I would just say too, though, I would definitely try and find some bluffs here, because my worry for you here might be that you might not bluff this spot all that much. If all the hands I said for bluffing the turn, so like the Jack X, the 9X, maybe you could bluff now with some Ace X, but my point would be you might be kind of light bluffs here with this bet size.
Yeah, I don't overbet bluff often at all, so I do need to work that into my game somewhat with like a 10% overbet river bluff, because really at this point in my game it's almost always value. So and obviously it is in this case. Yeah, I definitely need to work that in. I need to work in flop raises, turn raises as bluffs as well, and I don't have a lot of that in my play right now. So I'm definitely going to be working on that as one of the things to help help. But he does make the crying call to see the bad news with his queen, and I think he would have had trouble folding a queen, and I was right. So that was good. He jams here. We're just going to fold that. That's fine. I think we could have called it, but just jam here.
Wait, what was your hand that you said you could have called? Wasn't it like trash 10 deuce or something? Yeah, I would not call that.
Yeah, I mean it's only 6 bigs though.
6 is quite a bit though, because if you double him up, then he's back to 12, and your hand just has nowhere near the right price to call.
Yeah. So we do obviously jam the queen 10. We do.
Nice, take it down. Nice win. Love to see it.
Yeah. I feel really good about my ICM play. That's one of the areas where I spent a lot of time playing sit and goes and that kind of thing, and studied it a lot. So I think I did pretty well in the ICM. Little work on my heads up game, and definitely having some more bluffs in my range and stuff like that is something I got to do. But what are your thoughts on like my ICM and heads up? I mean, we only had a couple hands heads up here, but
yeah, I would say your heads up game actually looked decently clean from the hands that I saw, and I think your ICM game looked pretty clean as well. I would say basically agree with what you said. I mean, there are some spots where we could definitely find more bluffs, and then also just some general like thinking about the opponent's range. There were some, I think, examples I gave of like, for example, that trip Jack's hand where it's like kind of think about what his range is. Okay, it's like mostly air or strong hands I'll get value from anyway, so if that's the case, then checking makes a lot of sense. I think things like that will probably help you improve quite a bit, but I would say overall your game in this tournament looked pretty good. So
thank you.
Kind of speaks to my no problem. It kind of speaks to my point when I said at the beginning of part 1, when I was like, I know you've been studying quite a bit, you've been putting work in, and I think that is definitely paying off and showing up here.
Awesome, thanks. Yeah, that's the big focus of my studying going forward is to really think about the opponent's range and their interaction with the board. So, but thanks.
The last thing I would caution you there with is, in general, it is pretty hard to have really sharp insights in your opponent's ranges. So I would also want you to think about your own range, probably first. Like always, just be thinking about your own range, because it's reliable information that you can know for a fact.
Awesome.
And that's why it's helpful to make investment decisions on things that you can know for a fact. Whereas, it's helpful to try and ballpark where someone's at, and that definitely ties into my decision making. But it's part 2 of what I do. So I think about my own range first, and then part 2 is thinking about the opponent's range.
Got it. Well, Schwibbs, thank you so much for participating in this coaching session. I really appreciate it. I got a lot out of it, and I hope to do one again in the future with you soon. So,
nice. Sounds good, Google. Yeah, it was fun to go through these hands with you.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Peace, bro.